If I could go back to my first Fantasy Premier League season, there are a few things I'd say to myself. Even as an experienced Fantasy League player, sometimes you can still be making these same mistakes and not understand why you're not breaking the top 10,000 each season. So stay with me, I'll explain them to you and make sure that you have a great season this year. And some tips that could have saved me hundreds of points. Let's dive into what I've learned along the journey as an FPL veteran. The first one is don't chase last week's points. This one hurts. In my first few game weeks, I'd scroll through FPL and try to bring in whoever scored big that week. Hat trick, defensive assists, clean sheets, must buy, get them in, all costs. But most of the time, you're buying them after the points are gone. I think the real skill here is predicting about who's to haul, not who just did. One tip I'd sort of say to you guys, really important, it's massive, look ahead at fixtures. Focus on form plus upcoming matchups. Try and identify those players who are going to haul and score big that week. As I say, don't go on what happened last week only. Yes, good indication that a player's in form, but more importantly, let's have a look at the fixtures. I can't emphasize that enough. Fixtures, fixtures, fixtures. Number 2, captaincy is everything. Yeah, captain's picks can literally make or break your season. I used to just pick my favourite player or whoever had the highest ownership or whoever did well last week, or you're scared a little bit because everyone seems to have Salah or Haaland and you just don't want to take that little risk. But here's the thing, a consistent 6-pointer is better than a risky 15 every week. So is that player going to get you those points that you're expecting? Do they have a tricky fixture in that game? You've got to think of your captain as a reliable double, not a lottery ticket. So although sometimes you might think so-and-so is going to have a great week this week, they're playing this team at home, but they've never really had a big game week haul any of the previous weeks. Sometimes that can be a bit risky. So even though a lot of ownership can go into Salah and Haaland, sometimes you just have to go with a safe bet. But every so often you do still need to look at who else is out there potentially. A bit of a variable, maybe like an Ollie Watkins, for example, at Aston Villa, as someone who hauls quite sort of big in sort of weeks. Maybe it could be a Cunha or an Mbuemo. It could even be someone like Kudus at Spurs, just to sort of see how players are sort of getting on the early season. So yeah, captaincy is everything. It will make or break your season. If you don't get the captain right most weeks, you're not going to be near the top of either your private league or in the top 10,000. Patience over panic transfers. Again, I used to burn transfers like I was playing FIFA. One bad game week and boom, -4 hits everywhere. And before you know it, a -24 on your week, you're already behind the curve. You're already dropping down the table. But more often than not, that transfer ends up being totally unnecessary. I've done it before, almost like what I call rage transfers. After the game week finish, you look and you think, I've got 31 points, right, I'm changing my whole team, I don't want to use my wild card, and before you know it, you click, 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 and before you know it, at the end of a Sunday evening, you've done 6 transfers. So after wait -20 points, and then still you're not happy with the consistency in your team, so you go back in later in the week and then add 1 or 2 more. And even I've seen people take out players that they've brought in that's costing -4 to change again. So I would say stick to your plan unless there's an injury or a clear tactical reason that you're going to change your team. Your team isn't broken just after 1 red arrow. Just remember that. Set and forget. Well, not quite. At first I treated FPL like, a once a week thing. I pick my team, hit confirm, forget about it until Saturday, and somewhat, guess what? I'd miss the game deadlines. There'd be an early kickoff on a Saturday. There'd even be a Friday night game and I totally wouldn't even realise. Still got my player set as a captain who's not going to be playing this week. They're suspended. My vice captain's injured. I'm not going to get double points that week. Or I've got lots of missing players, unavailable players. It's a cup week, blank game week for certain players. So it really is a case of setting yourself reminders. Even just checking team news on Friday night or Saturday morning can make all the difference. If you only get one opportunity, I would say Fridays or Thursday evenings, start to have a look just in case there's that Friday night fixture. Even if you just provisionally pick a team that you've got there and you plan to go back again on the Saturday morning and make further tweaks if there isn't that early kickoff, at least get your team ready later on in the week. Don't just set and forget. The next one is really sort of use your chips well. Yes, this season you get to use your chips twice, which obviously we covered in the other video, which you'll see here on the top right hand corner if you want to know about the new rules this season. When I started, I thought these were just fun extras, to be played every so often, but really you've got to use them strategically. It's what separates the top 10,000 people from just the casuals. Save chips for double game weeks, or when your team really needs a reset, and not just because you're bored. Save for the weeks where people have got blank game weeks as well. Maybe it's the cup rounds later on in the season where there's potentially players not playing. Double game weeks when for example Man City's at home and Haaland for a double game week against Leeds United and Burnley, say, just picking the promoted teams. Maybe that's the opportunity there to sort of use your triple captain for that, or a bench boost for a game where you're not quite sure about your team. They've got some tough run of fixtures and you just need that extra points to bring it in. So know your chips, use them wisely, but just obviously remember there are changes this season to how they work. The last one is play your own game. I used to couple with my mates, used to listen to them, talking about certain things, following a certain Twitter thread, panic when something went viral on TikTok for a must-own pick. But the truth is, the best managers back their own judgment. So okay, to take advice, that's what I'm here for. That's why I'm here to sort of offer these advice, things for you to think about. But I'm not building your team. I'm not building your own strategy. I'm giving you advice. I'm giving you examples. I'm telling you what's worked for me in the past, how I've managed to finish in the top 1,000 on 2 occasions over the years. But yeah, you've got to build your own strategy. You've got to obviously be able to sort of stick to that and own it as well. So ask yourself, do I believe in this move, or am I just scared to miss out? That's a real big one, really. As I sort of said, when you see a lot of people bringing in this player and you think, oh, I can't miss out, I'm going to have to bring him in as well. Do you really want to bring that player in? Do you believe what everybody else is believing? Do you believe he'll haul that week? If you don't, trust your own judgment. So yeah, that's it really. 6 quick tips there for you on your journey. As I say, if you're a newbie or a veteran, I think it's really important that you sort of just think about these things again. FPL is a game of strategy, patience, and a little bit of luck. If I'd known this all back then when I started, my own rank would have looked very different. It obviously took me 5, 6, 7 years to start actually getting a hang of the game. But hopefully now, if you've only been playing the game 1 year, 2 years, or you've been playing it for 10 years like me, it's a case of you're always learning all the time. So hopefully you'll follow your own strategy. Hopefully you'll have a great season this year. Hopefully this helped. Drop a like, subscribe for more weekly FPL guidance, and let me know in the comments what's your biggest FPL regret or lessons learned that you would sort of take from the past. Take care.